Morpheme. You have an idea of morpheme, but let's revise the idea. And what do morphologists do when they deal with morpheme? Morphologists basically do the function of investigating words. They take up words used in different languages and they investigate. They look at their internal structures, how they are made. So it is the job of the morphologist to take up a language, its data, and then investigate how it works. How they are formed. So they look at the process of their formation. They keep the data before themselves and they look at how different units of sounds are formed and how they become meaningful, how they deal with grammar, how they create grammatical effects. The smallest linguistic piece with a grammatical function. So generally, morpheme is defined as the smallest linguistic pieces with a grammatical function. For example, cat and cats. So in this we have S. It has a grammatical function. Similarly, cat is a morpheme and S is also a morpheme. So they have grammatical function. One is singular and other makes it plural. So morpheme is called the smallest linguistic unit, right? Whether it's a smallest linguistic unit or not is yet to be decided. You will see a lot of things, a lot of variation, a lot of exceptions to the rules. Because when we study any subject in detail, we not only form rules, but we also come across exceptions. Not inclusive definition. As I said, that this definition that morpheme is the smallest linguistic piece with a grammatical function. It's not an inclusive, all-inclusive definition that it leaves no room for any exception. A morpheme may consist of a word such as hand, for example, hand, boy, cat, table, right? A meaningful piece of a word such as add, of, look. So look is one word, one morpheme, and we added past morpheme with it and made looked, right? So ed is also a morpheme. This is the smallest meaningful unit. Another way in which morphemes have been defined is as a pairing between sound and meaning, because we pronounce the morpheme and it has a meaning. Some morphemes have no concrete form or no continuous form. So you'll see in the process of this subject that the basic notion about morpheme that we make, smallest unit, is broken, is challenged many a time, right? So some morpheme have no concrete form or no continuous form. Some do not have meanings in the conventional sense of the term. So because we say that we just said that it's a pairing between sound and meaning, but now we are going to say something against it, that there are some morpheme which do not have meaning, right, in the strict sense of the word. So the term morph specifically to be phonologically realization of a morpheme. So let's take the example of the term morph. Morph, we have studied in the introduction to linguistic that it's a variant of morpheme, right? So you can see that it's a phonological realization of a morpheme, right? So as a morpheme it is one, but in its phonological realization it is more than one. So let's have an example of it. So ed has various morpheme. For example, when we add this past tense morpheme to a verb, so in certain cases it has different phonological realization. For example, jumped. After jump, when we add ed, we pronounce it as t, jumped. So after voiceless stop, it becomes, the ed become t instead of ud or d. Similarly, in repelled is a voiced sound, right? So we have the same sound as d. Rooted, we have alveolar voiceless, but after alveolar voiceless stop, we cannot make it as we did it in the bilabial voiceless as ta. Here we have to keep it as ud, right? So in different environments, it behaves differently. Phonologically, it behaves different. Let's consider a word, reconsideration. If we break this word, we find certain morpheme. For example, we find re, which is a prefix. We find consider, which is the stem, and we find Asian, right? So we get 3 morpheme out of this word. So what is a stamp? A stamp is a base unit to which another morphological piece is attached. So in this word, re and Asian is attached to consider. So consider becomes a stamp, right? Stamp is consider becomes stamp. So stamp is the basic word, right? And to it, other words are attached. Stamp is the basic word. Simple stamp is a basic word to which other words are attached, as we can see re and Asian. Consider, which we just said that is a stamp, is also known as root. So we have 2 terms for consider, root and stem. So what is the difference between root and stem? Is there any difference? Let's look at this. A root is like a stamp in constituting the core of the word to which other pieces attach, but the term refers only to morphologically simple units. So, simple units. For example, if we have disagree word and we attach ment to it, disagreement. So, disagree will be stamp and ment will be the suffix attached to it. For a disagreement, so disagree. So in this case, stamp is, as I just said, is the basic to which the ment is attached. But when we take disagree, we break it into agree and dis. So here, agree is the root as well as the stem, because it is the simple word. So it is, this is the difference between when we attach suffix, prefix or suffix to any stem, we are actually talking about stem. Let's take the other 2 affixes, re and Asian. Re obviously is a prefix and is attached to verbs. And Asian, why not we said at, at, and we differentiated at and I1, because we cannot make it a word like reconsiderate, because it is no verb. So we'll have to take ation, Asian, as single morpheme, right? So consider the English words. Let's take some other example, lovely and quickly. If we look at these 2 words, ly and ly, both in lovely and quickly, they apparently look to us the same morpheme, but actually they are not. Why? Because lovely is an adjective and quickly is an adverb, like rapidly, right? So rapidly, the ly of rapidly can go with ly of quickly because they are both adverbs. But lovely, it is love, that is a noun, and then added ly, which made it an adjective. So they are 2 different morpheme, not the same. Apparently they look the same morphemes. The 2 other sorts of affixes, infixes and circumfixes. For example, let's take the sound Tagalog. It's the language Tagalog. in which we have a root and we have a word sulat, right? This is infixed into the word. So when we infixed it, put into the morpheme. So here we again recall you to the fact that what we said earlier, that it is the smallest meaningful unit. So here we are going to break the morpheme. So it becomes samalu at. Obviously the pronunciation must be different, but for a comprehension purpose I am pronouncing it. So one who wrote. Similarly, graduate, we added into it, adverb. So one who graduated. So this is how we made a different words, right? So these words whenever are used, for example, you can have fail, fe, ain and lam in Urdu, and you can make it file. Putting alif into it, you can make file. The same case has taken place here. Circumfixes. So let's take another Indonesian word, a language example of Indonesian language. We have a stem besar, which means big, which is an adjective, and we put ke and an, and then before ke before the adjective and an after the adjective, and fix the morpheme into it and make a word kabesaran, which make bigness, which make the adjective into a noun. So this is a very common phenomena. This is a very common phenomena in different languages. As I gave example of your own language, Urdu, that is there in Urdu, Arabic and Indonesian. The example is before you. So these things help us in understanding the true nature of the subject, morphology, that how morpheme behaves in different circumstances.